Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. You know what? So I went ahead and went back to the Speed Chess Championships, and I got the final game that Wesley and Hikaru Nakamura played. It's a nice game. It has a really nice. I did get to pause the video section, so it does have a really nice tactical little sequence there. But as always, I tell everybody, if you want to skip right to the analysis and literally everything I say up until that point, the very top of the description, I do have that timestamp there for you. For everybody else, I appreciate everybody so much for stopping by. All of my people in the Philippines, of course, my buhay. Kumusta na aking makaibigan? Masaya ko makikinig muli. Hello ulit. Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, taking a look at my stuff. Magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang araw, magandang gabi. Almasal tayo. Let me see. It is, right now it's 12 p.m. because it's 10 p.m. here. So it should be 12 p.m. in the Philippines. You guys are 14 hours ahead of us. So mag-lunch na tayo. Bam! All right, man. You know what? If you guys are ready to go, we will take a look and see what we have for this game. This is game 31. You know, they kind of break it up into different like sections. They got like, you know, different series of games, but I mean, they played 31 total games. So this is game 31. So let's roll. So we do have E4, we got C5, so we have the Sicilian defense. Knight comes to F3, and I'll talk to you guys about this a lot when I show Sicilians. Majority of the time, probably 85% of the time that you see a Sicilian played, you will be seeing it played with these exact moves, and then you'll just start to kind of vary from here. We do have D6, the most heavily played as black. You know, you have the ability to go into like some knight dwarfs or dragons, or there's so many different possibilities from this point. But we do see bishop to B5 with check. And this is the canal attack of the Sicilian defense. So we do see knight to D7. As I always tell you guys, I mean, you have many different options. You have bishop to D7. You got knight to D7. You can even play knight to C6 if you want to. It is a move. It's actually probably one of the best moves you can play. But like I said, we do see knight to D7. We got castles by white. We got A6 asking white, does it want to trade or preserve the bishop? And so Hikaru decides to go back to D3. Which does seem kind of strange, probably because you're like, okay, what about this bishop? Like, how am I going to get it out? Well, I mean, you know, Hikaru's going to kind of slow play it. So as you guys will see, he will end up getting, you know, a pretty desirable position. You know, like I said, he's just kind of slow play it. So we do see knight to F6, which we knew was coming. So that was another one of the you know, the determiners as far as like where he puts his bishop, because if you do back the bishop all the way up here, as you guys can see, this pawn is kind of hanging. So that is not what happens in the game. We do see C3, and we are keeping the protection of this E4 pawn. We got E6. The bishop comes back to C2. And at this point, white has the ability to play D3 or D4, you know, whatever they feel. We do got B5. For those of you that play E4 and they play against a Sicilian, almost every single time you play against a Sicilian, you're going to see this type of expansion on the queen side. Majority of the time, you're going to see castle short for black. So, you know, it makes a lot of sense that you're getting all of this activity on the queen side. So we do have D4. We got bishop to B7. We see rook to E1, just making sure that we protect this nice little pawn center that we have. And of course, you know, black is ready to capture back with a pawn and still have a really nice pawn center. If we do see pawn takes D4. We got bishop to E7, knight B to D2. We got castles by black, knight down to F1. We got queen to C7. We got bishop up to D3. And then we do see the novelty of the game, which is A5. It does kind of seem like it is giving away a bishop for free over here, but the logic behind A5 is, as black, you are not worried about the bishop capturing here because you are double hitting this pawn here. And as you guys are aware, central pawns are usually more valuable than flank or wing pawns. So, you know, black would love to give up this B pawn for this nice central pawn of whites. You know, because the play is normally in the center of the board. So we do have knight up to g3. We are not interested in capturing that pawn there. But as of now, that is actually live now because you do have the double protection of the pawn here. So this bishop is actually free to move. So recognizing that, Wesley So goes ahead and plays b4. We do see bishop to f4. We see rook f to c8. We see e5. And we see Wesley So go knight to d5. Now backing up, you could have actually, and this would have actually given black a really nice position. Not like it's super winning, but it definitely would have put the initiative in black's favor if you actually went pawn takes e5 here. After pawn takes e5, white would probably go knight takes e5, and then the queen would sidestep and get back to d8. The bishop would come up to c4, knight coming to d5. As you can see, this position is very solid for black, and they do have nice expansion on the queen side over here. So this is definitely something that Wesley So could have went into, but he did not. He actually went straight for knight to d5, and white has a really nice Zwischenzug move in the position. They don't have to worry about their bishop being hit at the moment. So we do see Hikaru go pawn taking d6. This is important, an important Zwischenzug, because it is placing an attack on the queen. So of course you're not going to do this because you're going to lose your queen, and that's not how we play the game. We like our queen in chess, so we don't do that. So after the pawn takes on d6, we do see the bishop taking on d6. We got bishop taking d6, queen taking d6, and then we actually see a classic bishop sacrifice in this position. Now, there are different criteria that you have to kind of think about when you are doing your classic bishop sacrifice. And even though one of those criteria is not met here, there is an exception as to why it works in this position. So we actually see the bishop taking on a7 with check. The king is taking, and then we do see knight to g5 with check, and then the king goes back to g8, and then we do see queen to h5. Now, to get in this criteria that I was mentioning a second ago, some major factors that you want to be paying attention to when you do want to go into this classic bishop sacrifice is that a knight. So just in general, the two things that you want to make sure that you are aware of and make sure that are not possible for black in a classic bishop sacrifice is that no knight has the ability to come to f6 or to f8 to defend the h7 square, and you want to make sure that this light squared bishop does not have the ability to somehow come on this diagonal and protect h7. So everything is based on if your opponent has the ability to protect h7. So like I said, if the bishop can come on this diagonal anywhere, or that either one of these knights can either jump to here or here and protect this square, you basically just donated a bishop. Now, you might be wondering in this position, well, I mean, these knights can actually come, you know, back over here. Like, I don't understand, like, why is this such a big deal in this position? Well, the one thing that you have to notice is that this bishop is undefended. The other thing that you need to notice is that f7, as I always say, is undefended at the moment. Usually you have a rook on f8, and you don't have to worry about your f7 pawn being hit. But you do have to worry about this in this particular case. And this is why Hikaru Nakamura does play the bishop sacrifice here. Because, you know, if any of these knights come here, you're going to be checking here. And you are going to be getting some nice material. And this rook is on this point. If you undermine the protection of this pawn here, it is free for capture. So you are going to be really nicely hitting this queen. And you just have some really nasty tactics in the position. And this is something, and this is a bullet game. So this is something that Hikaru does notice in this bullet game. I mean, which is pretty much why he's like the #1 bullet player on chess.com and stuff. So, I mean, that kind of goes into that. But after this is why you see the queen coming to f4 and trying to defend the position. But unfortunately, this position is very, very dire for black. And we actually see the queen checking on h7, and this forces the king over to f8 only move. And we have reached a point in the game that if you do want to pause the video and see what nice shot Hikaru Nakamura not only has but finds in this position, go ahead and do so. Okay, so this is actually really pretty, and the unfortunate thing for Wesley So is that there is no way out of allowing this to just go ahead and happen, because that is how dire the situation is right now. And if you guessed it, I didn't give you the answer earlier because it was a different situation, but it is a rook sacrifice. And if you guys notice that if you can activate the ability for a piece to come to e6, especially a knight, you will have a fork on these two pieces, and that is exactly what Hikaru Nakamura does. He sacrifices the rook on e6, and normally you would want to kind of move or, you know, kind of wiggle out of that fork, but unfortunately, because this rook is controlling this file, queen to h8 is checkmate. So there is no way that, and the king is actually stalemated, so there's no way to really move out of this. So unfortunately, you have to allow this fork. So the pawn takes on e6. We see knight to e6 with check. And the king comes down to f7. And then we do see the knight taking on f4. The knight takes on f4. Queen comes to f5. And this is a triple attack because it's a check plus a attack on this and an attack on this. We see the knight retreating to f6. Queen taking on f4. And then we do see pawn taking c3, pawn taking c3, pawn taking d4, pawn taking d4. And then we do see rook down to c2. And then we have knight up to h5. And it is in this position that Wesley So does resign the game. And I mean, there's a really, really heavy material advantage for white in this position. You have a situation where white has 5 pawns and you only have 2. Yes, you are up a piece, but you do have a queen and a rook on white's side. And just to play you a sample variation of what might occur, you might want to try to connect your rooks if you're black. So rook a to c8, the rook over to e1, bishop coming to d5, and you are going to force the issue with queen to g5. The knight is going to have to take, and this does drop the bishop on d5, but you have a way to kind of try to hold the knight with king to g6. You would see queen to e4 with check. The king would come back up to f7. After queen to e6 with check, king up to f8, you are going to start harassing this knight very heavily with the move g4. And you definitely cannot do this because you're going to be looking at this. And this is winning the crucial piece of material that you need to win to make sure that you steamroll this. And so that is that. So that is unfortunately how the Speed Chess Championships did end. And as you guys know, Hikaru Nakamura did win that. So that is that game. I'm going to cut out of here. And so that way I have a nice and short video for you guys. I appreciate you guys coming by. Congrats if you did find rook takes e6, and I will see y'all next time.